Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Young Turks. As we start the new year and a new decade, we thought it best to bring together some of India's most respected entrepreneurs and venture capitalists to draw up the entrepreneurial agenda for 2010. What are the new imperatives in a post-Lehman world for young startups? What are the lessons to be learned? And is there an India-specific entrepreneurial mantra? Joining us to discuss these are some of India's most respected VCs and industry veterans. Raman Roy, the father of the Indian BPO industry and the founder of Quattro, Raman's fourth BPO venture. Sanjeev Agarwal, the founder of IBM Dutch, currently the managing director of Helion Ventures, a $350 million India-focused stage-independent venture fund that invests in technology-powered and consumer services businesses. Saurabh Srivastava, one of India's leading IT entrepreneurs and venture capitalists. He's on the board of several companies, including Zansa. He's the founder of the Indian Angels Network, also the chairman emeritus of TiE Delhi. And joining us from Mumbai, Sandeep Murthy, partner at Sherpalo Ventures. Sandeep is currently the chairman of Clear Trip Travel Services and serves on the board of InfoEdge India, Mapminder, Future Bazaar, and many others. Gentlemen, many thanks for joining us. A very happy new year to all of you. Raman, let me start by asking you, 2008 changed the world as we actually know it. 2009, in that sense, was a year of recovery. What are the lessons to be really learned from 2009 to your mind?
I think for an entrepreneur, there are huge amount of learnings if you watch out for them. Cash being king, the fact that the cost of delivery could be dramatically different from what it was pre-2008, and the fact that there existed a market, but the market existed for different kind of products, and you had to understand what the need was of the market to be able to fulfill it, which showed that the opportunity existed, but it had kind of changed a little, and if you were able to appreciate that change, you could go into a market with different products.
Sure.
So if you were nimble-footed and if you were able to leverage on that opportunity, it was huge. So it set a kind of a platform on which I think the new decade will build upon.
Saurabh Srivastava, how did Indian entrepreneurs actually do in 2009 in terms of ideas, in terms of execution, and in terms of surviving the downturn?
Well, I think they did it better than most. And part of the reason is that Indian entrepreneurs generally tend to have a very middle-class approach on spending. See, when the market starts to go soft, it means it'll take longer for you to get the revenues you were hoping to get.
Right.
You better have some money so you don't go broke before the big day arrives. If you are doing well, you still need more money, because then maybe you need to accelerate faster and get ahead of others. Cash is really important.
Okay.
And this downturn brought it right to the fore. The other thing I would say is what came out was that you need, as an entrepreneur, to engage with the market very early.
Right.
A lot of time you're out there thinking you're creating the perfect product, the perfect service, and when you're done, you find it's not quite so. The consumers want something else. So you better engage with the market very early. And the second reason is it brings you some revenues early. And I think the third, which has been good for entrepreneurs to understand, is that in some ways business thinking is very important. I think one problem we have with a lot of Indian entrepreneurs is very strong technically, very clear what they're going to do. But they think if they've got it right, the world will be a path to their door.
Okay.
So they don't get all the skills. But for a team to succeed, I don't have to be God. I just need to know what I don't know.
Sure.
So I make sure there's marketing strength, there's sales strength,
Right.
there's technical strength, there's finance strength. One thing I think the entrepreneurs have learned is you need it all to survive.
Sanjeev Agarwal, to your mind, the highlights of 2009 and the low points of 2009.
This year we saw a lot of efforts in education, healthcare, clean tech, so diversification. It moved from the main cities to tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So you have entrepreneurs come from Kota, Ludhiana, Jaipur. As VCs, we saw deals from all over the place.
How many deals would you have actually done, of first generation entrepreneurs out of Ludhiana and Kota, for instance?
I would say about 25% of our deals, not done, but deals seen,
Right.
are coming from the smaller cities.
Really?
The conversion rates are still not as good.
That's a significant number.
We are on the road a lot more than we were ever before. The other good news is that because of the downturn, a lot of corporate folks who had hit about 40, turned entrepreneurs because they hit a glass ceiling.
Right.
They already become a CEO or a business unit head.
Yeah. So
that
that's
was another
second
good
life
news.
playing out in real life, huh?
Yeah, so there's a pipeline of entrepreneurship coming from
Right.
corporate world. People like Raman, I think many are trying to emulate.
Huh.
And lastly, what I found was that many companies that had built business models for India are now beginning to take them global.
Okay, so you're
So-
exporting the Indian cost structure, the Indian business model, and getting it to work in other emerging markets.
Absolutely. Like we have a company called Kirusa, which is in voice SMS business. Their first market was Indian telcos, and now they have taken it to Africa, Latin America, countries with very similar demographic structure.
Okay.
So that was the good news. I would say the lowlights were that scaling was a big problem.
Okay.
And India, I think, as Saurabh pointed out, this combination of Brahma and Vishnu is very hard to get right.
Okay, the Brahma-Vishnu combination hard to get. That was the low point as far as 2009 is concerned. Sandeep Murthy, let me come to you now. What to your mind is going to be the big challenge that the Indian entrepreneur will have to deal with in 2010?
If you think about what the challenge is in 2010, it's getting the companies who have corrected so nicely during 2009, where the first half of the year I think came to cost cutting, understanding the cash is king principle, getting the businesses healthy. The second half focused on getting it back to be positioned for this mystical inflection point, where suddenly again the internet will take off and technology will evolve and great new business models will come about. So I think one of the biggest challenges from 2010 is keeping the businesses grounded in reality while still being positioned well to take advantage of a moment where growth is going to be tremendous.
Raman, would you say that, the startups that you have worked with or mentored are in this position at this point in time?
I see a lot of it. In fact, Saurabh and I sit with the Indian Angel Network. It is incredible what you can see in a meeting and the amount of energy that you
but
can see.
Are we on the cusp of for Google, of the next sort of Yahoo, of the next Microsoft? Because that's the sort of response that we're getting. When we do Young Turks, we get mails asking us, have you been able to spot the next Google and the next Yahoo and the next Microsoft?
It is a level of maturity. As a country, the entrepreneurship has to mature. When a Google happened, when a Yahoo happened, whatever happened, America was at a particular level of maturity in the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
We have started late on that journey. We are on the right path. It will happen.
But the
much
inflection
before
point
that,
or
there
the
is a-
tipping point is
it's
further away.
It's visible.
Yeah.
It is visible, but it is not tomorrow morning.
It's not tomorrow morning. What do we need to do to get closer to that morning, Saurabh Srivastava?
I don't think we have to do much. It'll come. Look at it differently. Google means a very successful company that's been built up very quickly. In those terms, an Infosys would be called a Google.
Yeah.
In 20 years to go from
Sure.
less than 100 to 5 billion, that's Google. So it's not that we haven't had them. It's just that people associate it with technology. And the reason it'll happen here now is because it's for the first time, really, that we are becoming one of the world's top 3 or 4 markets
Right.
in some segments.
Right.
So if you look at, you said Google,
Yeah.
you said Microsoft,
Yeah.
name some more, Oracle.
Right.
What's common? They all live in America.
Right.
They were all born in America.
Right.
Right? And the reason that happened is because they had a large domestic base. You need that to create that kind of an inflection
Fair.
point.
Fair.
In India, we didn't have it at all. It's
We're beginning
happening
to see it now.
in many sectors.
Yeah.
You're beginning to see it in telecom. We're now the second largest in the world. You're seeing the Tatas doing it with the Nano.
Yeah.
But the biggest opportunity, I think, for us in the next decade is to use the fact that we now have a large domestic base in some areas. People in India want world-class products, but they want to pay an Indian price.
Right.
So to create the innovation that will get you that mass market at an Indian price is the price, because once you do it, you get a large market here. The world is your oyster.
So instead of looking outwards, which has traditionally been the case, it's time now to start looking inward.
Absolutely.
Okay, on that note, we'll take a quick commercial break, but when we return, we continue to discuss the opportunities for 2010. Come back to us. You're watching the inaugural episode of Young Turks for this year.